Good day, everyone. Good day, Sir Kamali. Before I start, let me introduce myself. I am Peter Paul Elerai, BS Criminology 2. So today, I discuss about the topic Nationalism and Patriotism, Chapter 2. So first, nationalism. Nationalism is an ideology and movement defined by promoting the interest of a particular nation, in particular with the aim of acquiring the maintaining the nation sovereignty over its country of origin. Nationalism claims that each nation should regulate itself, free from outside intervention, that a nation is a natural and ideal political basis, and that the nation is the only legitimate source of political authority. It also aims to build and maintain a single national identity based on shared social characteristics such as culture, language, religion, politics, and belief. In a distinctive shared history and to promote national unity or solidarity. Nationalism therefore seeks to preserve and encourage a nation's traditional culture, and cultural revivals have been connected to nationalist movements. It also fosters pride in domestic movements, accomplishment, and is strongly associated with patriotism. Nationalism is often paired with other ideologies, for instance, conservatism or socialism. There are types of nationalism. There are 14 types of nationalism. So first is ethnic nationalism or ethno-nationalism. The country is described from prior generations in terms of ethnicity and descent. It also involves the concept of a shared culture among group members and generally a shared language. The nation membership is hereditary. The state derives political legitimacy from its status as the ethnic group's homeland and from its obligation to safeguard the partially domestic group and as a group to promote its family and social life. In contrast to Western opinion of a country defined by its geographic territory, theorist Anthony D. Smith utilized the word ethnic nationalism. For non-Western notion of nationalism, the word ethno-nationalism is usually used only in relation to nationalists who support an explicit ideology along these lines. The more generic word is ethnic nationalism, and it is used by nationalists who hold such view in an informal, instinctive, or unsystematic manner. The pejorative type of both is ethnocentric nationalism or tribal nationalism. Although tribal nationalism may have a non-pejorative significance when debating African, Native American, or other nationalism that public claims a tribal identity. Second types of nationalism. Second is civic nationalism or civil nationalism. The state derives political legitimacy from its citizen active involvement and the extent to which it reflects the will of the individuals. Civic nationalism lies within the tradition of nationalism and liberalism, but it is contrasted with ethnic nationalism as a type of nationalism. Civic nationalism membership is regarded to be voluntary. The growth of representative democracy in nations such as United States and France was affected by civil national values. State nationalism, often coupled with the ethnic nationalism, is a version of civic nationalism. It means that the country is a community of those who contribute to the state's maintenance and strength, and that there is the person to contribute to that objective. The country is supposed to be a community of those who contribute to the state's maintenance and strength, and where the person exists expressly in the society to contribute to the object. This often result is fascism, generally characterized by authoritarianism and nationalism. Fascism is a political ideology. And the third one is expansionism, nationalism. A radical form of imperialism that includes independent patriotic feelings with a faith in expansionism, generally through military aggression. The world was coined in the late 19th century, and as European powers indulged in the scramble of Africa, in the name of domestic glory, but was most closely linked with militarism governments in the 20th century, including fascist Italy, Nazi Germany, the Japanese Empire, and the Balkan nation of Albania, Great Albania, Bulgaria, Greater Bulgaria, Croatia, Greater Croatia, Hungary. Nations are not believed to be equivalent to their right to self-determination. Some countries are believed to possess features or qualities that make them superior to others. Therefore, expansionism nationalism argues the right of the state to expand its boundary at the cost of its neighbor. And the fourth is romantic nationalism. It is other known or as organic nationalism and identity nationalism. Is the form of ethnic nationalism in which the state derives political legitimacy as a result and expression of the national natural. It is based on the presence of a historical ethics culture that meets the romantic ideal. It expresses romanticism values and exposes the rationalism of enlightenment. A historical ethic culture that meets the romantic ideal was emphasized by romantic nationalism. Folklore involved as a romantic nationalist notion. And the fifth is cultural nationalism. The country is described by shared culture, not solely civic or ethnic. Chinese nationalism is an instance of cultural nationalism partially due to China's many national minorities. Membership in the nation is neither completely voluntary nor hereditary. However, a traditional culture can be more readily integrated into the lives of any person, particularly if the person can obtain his or her abilities at an early point of his or her own lives. Cultural nationalism has been defined as a variety of non-civil or ethnic nationalism. The sixth is third world nationalism. Nationalism feelings are the outcome of opposition to colonial rule to survive and maintain a domestic identity. 7 is liberal nationalism is a kind of nationalism lately defined by political philosophers who think that as a non-expositive form of nationalism compatible with liberal values of liberty, tolerance, equality, and individual rights can exist. It is asserted that in order to lead meaningfully independent life. People need a national identity, and those liberal democracies need domestic identity to work correctly. Liberal nationalism often define the importance of domestic identity by stating that people need a domestic identity to lead meaningfully, independent life, and that liberal democratic politics need domestic identity to work correctly. Ernest Renan, author of Quiz Queen Nation, and John Stuart Mill are often thought to be early liberal nationalism. And the eighth is religious nationalism. Nationalism connection to a specific religion, faith, church, or affiliation. It can be seen that a shared religion contributes to a sense of domestic unity and mutual bond between the nation people. This connection can be divided into two dimensions: religions and politicization, and regions converse effects on politics. In the fourth aspect, it can be seen that a shared religion contributes to a sense of domestic unity, a common bond between the nation people, the support of a national identity comparable to a shared ethnicity, language, or identity compared to a shared ethnicity, language, or culture in other political elements of religion. More ideological is the impact of religion on politics, where presence interpretation of religious concepts inspire political activism and action. For instance, legislation are enacted or encourage stricter religious adherence. And the second topic is patriotism. Patriotism or national pride is a sense of love, dedication, and attachment to the country and alliance with other people who share the same impression. This attachment can be a mixture of many distinct emotions, including ethic, culture, political, or historical elements related to one's own country. It is a predominant virtue linked to a nation love, with greater emphasis on values and belief. One who is patriotic will be willing to offer any sacrifice to his nation. He'll never live alone, egoistically. For example, for those the sake of his country, a soldier makes the ultimate sacrifice of his life. For no other reason that being a citizen of that nation, patriotism is a dedication to one's nation. In essence, patriotism is a sense of attachment and dedication to be a country nation of political community or just country love. The English word patriot is the first known in the Elizabethan period. It originated from Latin 16th century patriota via Middle French meaning countryman. Finally, from Greek patriotis, meaning from the same nation, patris, meaning fatherland. The abstract noun patriotism appears in the early 18th century. By adhering to a national religion, patriotism can be reinforced. This, uh, this is the revise of the church-state separation requested by Enlightenment intellectuals who saw patriotism and religion as analogous, analog, and opposing forces. Michael Billing and Jean Brick Einstein both asserted it, that it is hard to discern the distinction between patriotism and faith, and depends heavily on the attitude of the person who does the label. There are kinds of there are three types of three kinds of patriotism. First is patriotism of duty. This includes fidelity of one's nation through material acts. This is military service, patriotism, and other selfless sacrifice types. This is where patriotism becomes embodied and in its ideal takes praiseworthy particular action. The second is patriotism, patriotism of affection. This this is the patriotism of the heart. It is about one's eternal desire for his country's well-being. The patriotism of affection can be seen in the patriotism of duty, but it does not necessarily result in it. One can truly love his country and yet be a coward just as one can theoretically fulfill a patriotic duty and yet feel apathetic about the country welfare. And the third is patriotism of manners. This is custom patriotism written and unwritten. The patriotism of manners is to place one's hands over the heart during the national anthem. It can be performed by anyone without actually needing affection or duty patriotism. While the above types of patriotism show, at least in a part, the real beliefs and hopes of a person, that patriotism of manners establish mostly a set of protocols. There are there are four types of patriotism. First is personal patriotism is emotional, emotional and voluntary. The patriot adheres to certain patriotic values, such as respect for the flag or the honoring of veterans. Other expression of personal patriotism includes enlisting in the army, public service, and participation in the political process through voting or other forms of activism. The second is official patriotism, promoted by the government, which has a high symbolic and ceremonial content. It is a logical consequence of the state itself, which derives legitimacy from being the expression of the common good of the political community. National monuments and Veterans Days and commemoration ceremonies are typical types of an official patriotism is highly regulated by protocol, with specific methods for handling flags or specific pledge and display of allegiance. Official patriotism relies heavily on symbolic acts such as displaying the flag, singing the national anthem, saying a pledge, participating in a mass rally, placing a patriotic bumper sticker on one's bicycle, or any other way of publicly proclaiming allegiance to the state. The third is symbolic patriotism. In wartime, it's intended to raise morale, in turn contributing to the war effort. Fourth is peacetime patriotism cannot be so easily linked to be measurable gain for the state, but the patriot does not see it as prior and prior. Levels of patriotism vary across time and among political communities. Typically, patriotic intensity is higher when the state is under external threat. Difference between patriotism and nationalism. While the terms patriotism and nationalism were once regarded as synonymous, distinct connotations were assumed. While both are people feelings of affection for their nation, are the values on which they are based are very distinct. Patriotism feelings are based on the country positive values like liberty, justice, and equality. The patriot thinks that both their countries, state system, and individuals are inherently good and working together to achieve a better quality of life. And that's all. Thank you.